And that's both.
Okay, I've been in contact with the court reporters and the people in Texas and Collin County. They actually messaged back to me, got back to me. They said I was trying to reach out for the transcripts for a while, but they said that the appellate process must happen first. After the appellate process happens first, then the transcripts will be readily available for us and they will be available for purchase. So again, I will have to purchase the transcripts, but we have to wait for the appellate court process first. They get the transcripts, they go over the case themselves, and then it'll be ready out to the public. So just to let you know, I'll read the message that they sent me back just to let you know. So salute to that.
Both on the plaintiff side, or I would say the appellant side and the appellee side. What Karmelo did on the day that they sentenced him, he filed that notice of appeal because you have 3 days to file a notice of appeal. Otherwise, you just pretty much waive your right to appeal your case. And so regardless, either he did it or his attorney did it, but they preserved that right, which is a good thing. On the 23rd, the appellate team for Karmelo filed an amended notice of appeal, pretty much saying, hey, we are we're the attorneys that are now on the case, and kind of submitted a new deadline for things to be due, if that makes sense, like a scheduling order. And then 25th, a docketing statement was filed. And here is the docketing statement. And we'll go over this in just a second, but to kind of educate you guys on what that statement is, it is a statement. It's an administrative tool that allows the clerk of the court to quickly screen a case for any procedural or jurisdictional defects. The Supreme Court of Texas has published a uniform docketing statement, which each court of appeals posts on its website. Each appellate court's website can be found, and they provide us with that particular website address. So going back to the docketing, this is the uniform statement, and this is for criminal. They have one for civil, but this is the criminal side. And this pretty much you have to complete in its entirety. Okay. I've had some people reach back out to me because, some people they can't afford appeals lawyers. So they try to do it themselves. And next thing you know, things are getting kicked back and they're not following the pro se guide that I provided for them. So if you don't fill this out completely, it will be getting kicked back to you. So you want to ensure that if you ever decide to appeal a case in Texas, you have to ensure that you read that pro se guide and you fill out this statement correctly. And then there's other processes that you actually have to do. But going back into this, so it shows the docket number, the Fifth Court of Appeals, the case style, the companion case, the appellant's name, the appellee's name, and then this is all of the appellate attorneys. And so they had to check which attorney was actually sending over this file. Now, he is the lead attorney, Russell Williams. Russell Wilson II. So he is the one that is the lead attorney on this case. And then going to the appellee attorneys, which would be the Collin County District Office. And so Amy Murphy is the lead attorney that is on this case. Perfection of appeal, judgment, and sentencing. So this is a criminal case type matter, and it's an appeal from a final judgment of conviction. Let's see, the date of the offense, the date that the sentence was imposed, his plea not guilty. Was the trial by jury or non-jury? Obviously a jury. He submitted his not guilty plea. The notice of appeal was filed on June 9th. The punishment that was assessed was the 35 years confinement to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And then they said, is this appeal from the pretrial order? And no. Let's see. Now, this one, Section 6, it states action extending time to perfect appeal. So motion for a new trial. So they are opting to file a motion for a new trial. The deadline to file that motion is going to be July 9th, 2026. So they have a couple of days to get that motion in. So it's a lot of moving parts that is going on. So they have requested the records from the trial court, the court reporters, transcript, the clerk of courts, docket. So that means everything that was filed, all the motions, all the pleadings, anything that was submitted to the court has to be submitted up to the Fifth Court of Appeals. And that is how they are able to kind of go through there to ensure that every single thing was done correctly and in order. So it is a process, and it is going to be a lot of work that is done on the Fifth Court of Appeals clerk, the clerk. So not the judges here, but this is the clerk, because the clerk is trying to get all this information. And so the clerks on both sides, the trial court clerk as well as the clerk for the Fifth Court of Appeals, because they got to transfer all the documents from one court to the upper court. So it's going to be a lot of things that they are going to get. But at the end of the day, they still have a deadline. They still have a deadline to get all of the records submitted to the Fifth Court of Appeals by August of this year. I believe it was August 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. So they already filed, and this was just saying the indigency of parties. So that is the affidavit of equivalent to the affidavit of inability to pay court costs or even afford a lawyer. So you have to, that was filed.
Okay. They're saying that he doesn't have no money, which is crazy. All right. Some people are saying that the family spent money, bought houses, cars, all types of stuff I'm hearing all online. But here we're saying that he doesn't have no money. That's crazy. You know, you need money to fight these kinds of cases. To even fight an M case, which he just fought, is going to take about $500,000. That's a period. I don't care what color you are. That's just a fact. You can Google that your own self. That's a fact. So for him, no money, he's saying, it's crazy work. That's sad work.
On June 9th. So that's pretty much saying that at the time he did not have the funds to actually hire an appeals attorney. And a lot of people just think that, you know, you can just get an attorney and go, you know, run with that. I want to be upfront and clear with you guys. Not every attorney can do things. As I mentioned before, you have attorneys that are great litigators, right? But those litigator attorneys can do terrible in the courtroom. Then you have some trial court attorneys that aren't good litigators, or they are good litigators, okay? But then you also have attorneys that don't really know the appeals process. So anytime you are seeking an appeal attorney, and it's the amount of calls that I get to, you know, help people find appeals attorneys are very, 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 it's a lot. And I don't know too many appeals attorneys. So that's why you definitely got to do your homework when you're selecting an attorney, especially an attorney that you want to help you through the appeal process. So just know, not every attorney is a litigator. Not every attorney is a trial attorney. Not every attorney is an appeals attorney. But go on and so forth. We have the trial court record, and it just shows the lower court's information. It shows the clerk's record, the reporter's record. So like I said before, the clerk's record is everything that has to be requested, as well as the reporter. So the person that you see in the courtroom that's typing everything that's being said, they have to get that transcript. And that's what has to be forwarded up to the actual higher court. Let me see. Now, here are some things that y'all need to see. Related matters. This any pending or past related appeals before this or any other Texas appellate court by court docket style. None known. Post-conviction motion for new trial and motion to rescue are pending in the trial. Not rescue. Motion to recuse are pending in the trial court. Cause number 296. Now, that is here's the thing. I'm going to go to this right quick. And I know I'm doing this on a video, but I think y'all have been with me for enough time to realize that I usually do this. So y'all know, okay, she's right at work and I got to hurry up. Oh, wait a minute. You know what's crazy? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm doing this live. Okay. So Karmelo Anthony. So the interesting thing that I just read is that they have a motion to recuse. And if y'all are unaware of what that is, that
They're trying to get the judge up out of here. The judge should have recused himself based on speculations that the judge and Jeff Metcalf has a relationship, whether it was photographic documentation that's come out. Some people saying that it wasn't true. Some people saying that it is true. But this is what that motion for recuse got to be about. Let's listen to what this is talking about.
means they are trying to say that the judge needs to recuse himself from that case. So if there was a new trial, that trial cannot be heard by the same judge. I repeat, if a new trial is granted, that case cannot be heard by that judge. Why? Well, and I don't want to say it's speculation. I mean, there are photos out there that shows that the judge is friends or acquaintances, I would say rather, with Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff. So, in one of the questions that I got on one of the video posts was, why didn't the judge recuse himself? And that's a very slippery slope right there, because the judge wasn't directly, I really can't say this. He wasn't related. We don't know as far as their relationship goes. It could be an acquaintance,
Could be an acquaintance. That's a small town, not so far fetched to believe that somebody knows somebody, right? Especially in these little small towns. But didn't the judge retire? I think that was his last case, if I'm not mistaken. So do we need to play a sound effect behind that? I think that was the judge's Roach last case, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's retired after that case. I think that's his last trial. So I don't know. Speculations could start to wander, but let's just try to finish up a little bit with this. I'm gonna bring up some documentation on an actual appellate brief. I'm gonna try to bring up an actual image or a docket of an appellate brief. Maybe we could look at that. We'll get into Dennis Sperling as well, see what he has to say about the appeals process and the appellate brief, and what is it looking like for Karmelo Anthony. Salute to everybody. I want y'all dropping a like. I want y'all voting. Do you think that Karmelo Anthony will win his appeal? I want everybody that's with us to hit the poll and vote. Drop a like, share, and subscribe to Udo Onko. Let's get back to it. Salute to Shadow the Titan Watch for the 5. He said, "Fact." Salute to you, bro. I appreciate that.
It's not something that maybe they called each other on the phone, but regardless, I feel that if you know this family, you should have recused yourself from that trial or for that judge from that case as soon as because I think this complaint was filed on June 24th, 2025. So when that came into your court and you seen these names and you knew it was a possibility that you was going to get this case, you should have automatically said, hey, I'm going to recuse myself from this. But this is Collin County that we're talking about. This is Collin County. So with that being said, so there's a motion for a new trial and a motion to recuse, which is pending in this court. And I didn't see that on the court docket. That's why I took y'all guys there, right there. So that right there is the docketing statement. The next thing I wanted to show you guys was as far as the process and the reason for the docketing statement and what information it provides. It says, upon perfecting the appeal in a criminal case, the appellant must file in the appellate court a docketing statement that includes the following. So, and you saw it. So this is just a outline of what it covers. If the appellant has a counsel, the name of the appellant and the name, address, telephone number, fax number, state bar identification number of the appellant's counsel, and whether he has been appointed or retained. Okay, appointed means that the court, if he did not have the funds, then the court would appoint an attorney for him. So they have to distinguish whether he was appointed or retained. If the appellant is not represented by an attorney, then you would obviously provide their information. The date of the notice of appeal was filed in the trial court. If it was mailed to the trial court clerk, the date of the mailing, the trial court's name in the county, the date the trial court imposed and suspended sentence in open court, the date of the filing of any motion of new trial, motion in arrest of judgment, or any other filings that affects the time for perfecting the appeal, the offense charged, the defendant's plea, whether the trial was a jury or non-jury, the punishment assessed, whether the appeal is from a pretrial order, whether the appeal involves the validity of a statute, ordinance, or rule, whether a reporter's record has been or will be requested, and whether the trial was electronically recorded, the name of the court reporter, the dates of filing of any motion and affidavit of indigence, any date of hearing, the date of any order, whether the motion was granted or denied, and any other information the appellate court requires. So this, as I stated before, is something that has to be completed in its entirety. You cannot leave any type of blank spaces when you are submitting this document, or it will get kicked back. So
you don't need that getting kicked back at all right? But look, let's go into exactly what this looks like, and maybe I could bring down something to read to y'all and show y'all about the appellate brief. I got some notes I've even taken as well to kind of help us along in breaking down not only what this process looks like for him, but what an actual appellate brief is and how important it is for Karmelo Anthony or any inmate that is trying to file an appeal, right? So let me see if I can bring that up real quick. Salute to everybody. Make sure y'all all slapping the like button. I got a few cases here too as well. Let me see. I think I could click this one right here, right? Yeah, I can do this one. All right, cool. Let's just bring this up first. So let's just see what this looks like. All right, cool. Let me make sure y'all can see it as well. All right, cool. This is the documentation. All right. What is an appellate brief and how does it work? An appellate